And now to our conversation. Nigeria's labor force survey measures the proportion of the country's working age population, which constitutes the labor force either employed or seeking employment. The survey by the National Bureau of Statistics shows Nigeria's employment to population ratio decreased to 73.2% in the fourth quarter of 2024 from 75.6% in the third quarter of 2023. Unemployment rates in the country increased in the quarter. Now, the data also shows that 1.5% of employed Nigerians spent between 1 to 9 hours in a week. And we have in the studio Mrs. Abiola, Arosanyin, Assistant Chief Statistician, National Bureau of Statistics, to give us a breakdown of the Nigerian Labor Force reports. It's good to have you in the studio, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers. Good afternoon, Nigeria.
Okay, let's start with the employment status of the country. From the MBS report, what is the employment to population ratio and how was the data arrived at?
So when we look at the term employment to population ratio, it means the population of persons that are in employment. And when we look at that, comparing them to the labor force population. By labor force population, what do I mean by that? Labor force population is the combination of the working age population that are working and those that are not working. That means the population of those that are employed and those that are not employed. This will give us the total sum for labor force population in Nigeria. And when we are looking at this, we are relating it to the working age population in general. By working age population, the definition is persons between the age of 15 years and above. Before 2022, how we normally calculate our working age population globally is 15 to 65 years. But using the ICLS 2013 conference, which is the 5-yearly conference of the statistician, as at the 2013 ICLS conference, globally they agreed to move it to remove the caveat of 65 years and increase it to, there's no limits, there's no caveat from 15 years and above now. So by the time you look at this population, what is the proportion that are into employment? And when we say into employment, it could be wage employment and it could be self-employment. So far you are working, you are doing something for up to 1 hour or more in the last 7 days, which is always the reference period that we are collecting this data, then you are part of the employed population, irrespective of the work that you are doing. Maybe I need to mention here that our labor force survey is an household survey. So when we get to the household, the question is always for people from 15 years and above. Are you engaged in any economic activity in the last 7 days? It could be for pay or for profits. Even if you are a shoe cobbler, you just help in the garden. So far you have done something that you are getting pay or you are getting profits from it, you are employed. Okay. So those people that are employed, these are the employment to population ratio among the working age population. Good. That is the employment population. Now
let's talk about the youths in the country. Young ones between ages 18 to 24. What is the employment status like for this group?
If you look at the annual data that we have reported for 2023, for the youths in employment, our youth in employment, according to the global definition, is from age 15 to 24. Out of the over 84 million people that are in employment, just about 20 million of them are between this age caveat of are between the age of 15 to 24 that are into employment. Just a little over 20 million of the youth population among the employed population. And if you look at the disaggregation by age group, you will see that this age group have the highest unemployment figure in the country.
Right. So unemployment rate in the country increased to 5.3% according to the report in the first quarter of 2024. Tell us about the unemployment data.
Okay, so when we look at the unemployment data, this is the percentage of the person among the working age population of 15 years and above, that as at the period that we collected this data for first quarter 2024, which is the first quarter this year, as at that reference period, they are not working, but they are available to work and they are actively searching for work. That is how we arrive at this 5.4% for the first quarter 2024.
Okay. Is there any difference between males and females who were in wage employment in quarter 1 of 2024?
Yeah, there's difference between the male and female that are into wage employment. Okay. As usual, but it's not that significant. The difference between the male and female is not that significant. But there's something I've always mentioned when we are talking about the wage employment. If you look at the figure for the annual figure, you know, when we say 2023 figure, that is, you know, we released 2 reports. We released the quarter 1 report as well as the annual report. So when we are talking about the 2023 report, that's the annual, and even for this, so it has been the same. This thing has been repeated. I mean, they are following the same format if you have been monitoring the reports, so to say. So usually you will see that the male population are more into wage employment compared to the female population, while we have more of female population most time in the self-employment compared to the male counterparts.
Nice. Now, with unemployment on the rise, what kind of skills do young people need to make them employable?
So this is a good question to ask. For our labor force figure, if you follow the reports very well, if you check the reports, especially for the annual reports, among the employed population, only 15% of them are in wage employment. Over 85%, about 85% of the people that are into employment, they are into self-employment, meaning they are mainly doing informal job. Informality actually is the one driving the economy of Nigeria. So most of the people that are even employed is not really about their skills do not really match what they are doing. So for us, it has always been that government needs to look inward into the issue of informal employment in Nigeria. Because most people that are, if you look at the unemployment, the people that are unemployed mainly are among the educated person. I mean, people that have postgraduates. So they have the certificates, but the job is not there. For the people that have lower certificates in Nigeria, majority of them, they are doing one thing or the other, and that is why the economy is being driven by informality. So if you look at it very well, we are talking about skills. Skills is not really, when people say that Nigeria they don't possess the skills, I said the answer is no. They possess the skill, but the truth is the job is not there. And because there's no wage employment, that is why you find more people in self-employment issue. A lot of graduates are outside. By the time you ask them, what do you do? They will tell you that they are Okada rider. They will tell you that they are just helping somebody in another firm. We have them, a lot of them in informal employment as well. Most of our people, even with skills, they are into informal employment because they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have what it takes to even establish a kind of informal sector that they would have loved to. Even if the wage employment is not there, they need they need some incentives for them to be able to, you know, to prove what they have learned one way or the other. So a lot of people, they have the skills, they have the certificates, but they don't have the employment that actually match their skills. Okay,
so what kind of attention should government be given to education, considering that the NBS report shows that only 12.3 million people who make up the population have received post-secondary education?
So I think for government, we need to look into the issue of beyond people acquiring certificates. It's high time that we begin to match skills with our certificates in Nigeria. Sometimes when you even approach the private sectors, the employment opportunity is there, but the required skills are not easily found. So I think it's that time we look into our schedule, we look into our curriculum in Nigeria in the education sector, and we begin to match it with the available jobs, with the recent things that are coming up. We are in the age of IT. So somebody coming up with just a certificate that does not match the requirements of the, you know, of the present reality that we are facing globally, I think we will still have a lot of gap. So there's need to work to match the skills with certificates right from school. people should be engaged in a lot of entrepreneurship, and as well as what are the available jobs in the country and what skills will match it, so that we don't just go into normal theoretical curriculum, but instead developing people's skills right from school.
Okay, so before I let you go, what's your outlook for Nigeria's labor market in the next quarter?
So in the next quarter, we won't see much difference compared to what we have in this quarter. The signal will not be watched. And before I go, I would like to quickly say this. What we as MBS is clamoring for is that time we look beyond the unemployment figure. We should be looking at the labor underutilization in the country. A lot of people are not in the unemployment figure because they are discouraged job seekers. And these people, they are still part of the potential labor force. So we encourage partners and Igbo government to look into our labor underutilization figures, talking about the composite measure of labor force, especially our AU4, which is the combination of the unemployment, underemployment, and the potential labor force. This figure could have been more, but lots of people, they are discouraged from even searching. So in the last 7 days that we had, they will tell you that they have searched, they are available, but they are not searching. So we call them, they are outside the labor force, but they are potential labor force. And their figure, their population is still high in the population. So but what is the outlook for next quarter? I can assure you that the difference will not be much from what we have now.
Mrs. Abiola Arosanyin, thank you very much for joining us on the program this afternoon.
Thank you very much, the presenter, for having me.